Am I supposed to be talking or not? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
You're on.
Hello, everyone. Uh, Rosemary decided she's got to give lovin's now. Um, so tonight I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and the group's going to chime in on some of it too. One of the ancient dragons has been communicating with me off and on for a while. In fact, I've written down 2 of her stories, and I got a third one that's about ready to be released. Hopefully, we'll have them published soon for you guys to read them. But her name is Marma, and she's one of the original 32 dragons. And there's a whole history of that. Forgive me if I sound weird. I've got a cat in my face, so. But she has a message for the group and for humanity. And I'd asked her if she wanted to do it as a channeling, and she said no, that she just wants me to present the information. And the information is that the crisis of the metaphysical realms is getting really high. So be aware of when you use your gifts that you are actually using them on someone who is viably real. There are a large number of tricksters out right now that are trying to deplete us of our energies so we can't help those who really need our help. So make sure you check first with your guidance to make sure that this is actually a viable person. They are actually taking over bodies. And so there are tricksters walking amongst us in human form right now. And the bodies don't even know that they've been taken over. So before you do anything, especially if it's something that sounds really odd, if it doesn't feel right, ask questions. She also says to be prepared for the opening that is supposed to happen November 25th. There is an ionic field that is collapsing. And when that collapses, a number of doors are going to open and allow you to access information that has, you've felt it, you've known it's been there, but you could never decipher it. Now you're going to be able to decipher it. And for humanity, stand strong, stand together. You are capable of wondrous things that used to seem completely out of reach. But you have to work together. You have to come together, and you have to believe in each other. She also says to learn your truth. Learn the real reason you are here. What is your truth? What is the reason that you are functioning? And stick to it and follow it. And you will discover that you will be able to function on a higher level. So that is what Marma had to say today.
Cool. Thanks, John. By the way, can everyone hear me okay? I was having some mic issues earlier.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's um maybe John, you can give a little bit about her too, about who is Marma for people who are just starting to um learn about her through your
Marma,
connection.
okay, I'll have to go back a little bit further. Dragons, as we know them, did not come from this world. They were from their own world, billions and trillions and zillions of light years from us. Their first dragon home was there, and there was 32 of them that were hatched. How they got to where they were, no one knows. But one of the main stories that is that the divine created them and placed them to where they can start becoming into who they are supposed to be. And they grew up on these planets, and their evolution started there. And they are they've gone through, they're on their 7th dragon home now, and by this time there is not only earthbound dragons, airbound dragons, and waterbound dragons, but there are hybrids and there are void dragons. So the evolution of dragons has grown and grown and grown. And the dragons, when they came to Earth, they came here physically to Earth back when there was something called magic, which was an energy force that would allow them to live here as dragons. They became very infatuated with humanity, and they became our champions. And even after magic left, the dragons went to other parallels where there was still magic, but yet they energetically come here and interact with us, work with us, allow us to use their energy to create orbs for healing and for other things. And Marma has been coming and communicating with us for a while. For those of us, some of the dragons, when they had the choice of leaving, going to another parallel, or staying here in human form, they chose to stay here in human form. So that is why there is a percentage of people that have dragon blood in them. And so usually her formal greeting to us is she calls us her grandchildren. Because she's one of the original mothers of dragons. So she is the grandmother. So and so she's been popping in and presenting information to us and help with guidance, and has even given. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Did some channelings of messages from her. So that is Marma. And we have a number of other dragons here that do a lot of stuff. Almost everyone has at least one dragon around them. And if the dragon is not actually interacting with you, they are watching over you. They are observing you. They are making sure that you are okay. Even those who are kind of a dark nature, there are dragons who are watching them but are not interacting with them. They're waiting for them to step back into the light, and then they can step in and help guide them. And that's what the dragons do. The dragons can give you information. What you do with it is totally up to you. But it's information to assist you in strengthening your path, finding the right path, and moving you into a better universe. So
Cool. Thanks for that, John. Let me turn this banner off. So, any other messages you have?
well, there is a lot of activity with portals going on lately. And some of these portals are multi-dimensional portals. And one of my colleagues actually thinks that these portals have been causing a lot of the disappearances lately. There has been in what was it he said? Okay, this was last night, and he said from 9 p.m. German time to 10:30 German time, close to 3,000 people disappeared. And they all roughly went missing in that same time period. And people said that they saw them, they turned away. When they turned back, they were gone. A number of these cases are going, and of course, none of these cases are being checked out or anything, and probably won't be for a while. Now, hopefully, the people will materialize, but that has been one of the hot topics with a couple of my groups, that these are people that are needed for certain projects, and they're being taken someplace where they can do those projects. But usually, how portals are being brought into this, psychics have felt the drop of the portals and have pinpointed where those were, and they coincided with where someone went missing. There was 2 college girls in Burbank that disappeared out of the back seat of their car.
Wait, is that recent? In California?
Yes, last night.
Really?
The driver was an Uber driver, and he was talking to the third person who was in the passenger seat next to him. And he said he looked up in the rearview mirror and he saw the girls, and then a moment later he looked up, they were gone. And it freaked them all out, freaked him and the other person out, because they were on the freeway and they just vanished. And there's another incident that was reported in Moscow. People said that they were walking down a hallway, and there was a prime minister or something like that ahead of them, and they said that their vision went blurry for a few seconds, and when it cleared, he was gone, and there were no doors anywhere near. He would have had to been running extremely fast to have got to the door before they could see him again. And none of these are actually being believed at all. So the two girls were top in their class, and they were physicists, studying to be physicists. And I can't remember what they said about that head official in Russia, but he was considered really unique in the political zones. We know of a major group of people disappearing out in New Zealand. A number of children vanished off of one of the coastal fishing villages in Japan. There were a number of disappearances that have been mentioned in California. There's one happened in Portland, and I'm not sure where the others are, but there's been a number of them.
Yeah, I believe it. There's a lot of people that go missing. There's that book that I forgot his name. I keep forgetting it, but he wrote this book called 411, investigating missing people in national forests.
Yeah,
and you actually go to you actually investigate and go to the families, the missing person's family, and case by case is very consistent. They just like turn around, and their family member just disappeared. Sometimes like they reappeared. In lucky cases, they come survive and they were fine, but it would be like 4 miles out, and they're like they have barely any clothes on, and in a location where there's like no way for them to get there. It's just like the terrain is just so, there's no route to the area where they were found. So it's a very, I think there's a lot of hidden hidden things, right, that the government and the not telling us. So it's really interesting. Jane or Patty, do you have any experiences about that too? Portals and things go missing, and I know she smiles. She's like, I have a lot of stories to share, but
Patty first, perhaps.
Well, let me throw one more thing before Patty starts, because Patty lives on a place with portals and tunnels. My friend Robert, who's been studying Interstate 5, it goes from Canada all the way down to Mexico. And because it's called the Portal Road. There are so many stories about portals dropping right on I-5, especially here in Oregon. Oregon is a hot spot.
Wait, I-5 is pretty far. I mean, it's in the West Coast from San Diego all the way up.
Yeah, it's a good distance.
Which part are you referring to? Like more in Portland area, or
the
whole thing? Wow,
the whole thing. I mean, there's been the hot spots are ranging from Portland to Ashland, so almost all of Oregon. Oh God, it's like halfway up into Washington, and then there's like spots like just outside of San Francisco, or I-5 that's near San Francisco. San Diego is a hot spot, and then that no man's land of farmland is really hot.
like through Bakersfield.
Yeah. And people have described the ones who didn't stop, but they kept driving because they were freaked out. Described it, and in some cases, it's like the ones up here. It's consistent. It looks like a red orange desert with bizarre rock sculptures and stuff like that, or it is this weird gray mist sort of thing. And it sometimes it looks like there might be people standing next to the road, or people shaped things standing next to the road. Those are the ones there. Down in Bakersfield, I believe it said everything is blue, every shade of blue, and it's as if they were underwater. And I can't remember what the one was San Diego. It was very weird too. I think it was like some sort of prehistoric forest or something.
San Diego? Oh, you mean the portal? Okay.
The portals that happen there. So they're consistent in what they do. But I mean, they are. Well, Robert told me that in October there was 2,200 portals that dropped on I-5 throughout the whole month.
You know, with my experience driving up and down the coast here in California through like the 5 and the well, one time I will share my experience. I think it was on the 5. It's driving to San Francisco. So we would is it? Yeah, it's probably on the 5. I don't think it's a 101 because 101's it's definitely the 5 going up to San Francisco. And then there's a section where we go through we have to cross to get closer to the 101. That's towards more up north. So we were closer to the Sierra Nevada, the valley.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 6 hours in, probably past already Yosemite, those area, just to give you an idea. It's in the middle of the night, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden, it's like in my vision, I see. So it's a night, but you can still see what the landscape is at, right? Because the sun's setting, and you can still see everything's like kind of flat. There's nothing in front of you. It's just as like a desert. It's just as far a stretch road, and all of a sudden, it's like I'm kind of getting kind of tired, but then I drifted in a little bit, which is not good. I don't recommend if you're tired, pull over and go sleep, take a nap for rest. But I started to see vividly there's mountains in front of me. Almost like I believe there's 2 huge mountains. Like if you could compare, I don't know, like maybe Mount Rainier or something like that. When you're driving, you see how big it is. And it's over the horizon. And within a blink of an eye, it disappeared. It was really weird. I think that was probably the only experience I had with like messing with my vision.
Well, mountains have been very popular in California as well, so that's believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably stepped in a portal, and you never want to stop, because portals could be in a different time frame, and what seems like only a minute or two for you there in that portal could be years here. We had an urban legend, but it's like anytime any of this information shows up, it vanishes. But we had an incident back in the 70s of a model. I thought it was a Model T, but I believe it's actually a Model A. All of a sudden just appears on I-5. And the young man that got out was dressed in like late 20s, early 30s clothing. And long story short, within, I think they said 48 hours, he was dead, just totally turned into an old man. And I mean, aging process really fast. And the car turned into a pile of rust. And back then, we didn't have all the technology we have today. So it was basically here locally information. And within a month's time, it all disappeared. No one knew anything about it anymore. But every once in a while, something resurfaces, and a photo or something will show back up talking about it. So I do know it was in the paper.
Yeah, that's like that's like that experience when we were at ECETI. And I was waiting to pick up Scott. He came to try to flag me down, right? Because I got there late and was trying to get the road, and he decided to just walk back, and he showed me the path to where Judy and you were at. So I went that direction. And then I got there, and we're just chit-chatting. Then we looked, it's like 20 minutes, right? What happened? He's just down the street. Then somehow he got lost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was trippy.
We were at that campsite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he got sucked by a portal. Luckily, the portal dropped him back. So.
Yeah, that's not the only one too. There's a when we first met Scott and Judy at ECETI. This is back in 2018, and it was for a conference, right? So there are a lot of people going there, and there's this couple that decided to take an offshore route, not the main street, and they told how they got to ECETI, and it was a weird experience for them. So it's just like one of those one road, right? So you have to pull over if you have an incoming traffic. So imagine that, and it's like in a forest now, right? You're not in a highway. It's more like a detour. So they're going on that route, and they're describing how they saw a car that's kind of old. Looks like an old vintage car, and somebody working on it, and it didn't feel right, the energy and everything. And they just kind of talked to that person. No. That was another. Sorry. I got mixed up. They saw another car, right, in front of them.
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so they see this car in front of them. They're following, and somehow that they pull over or something like that, and they see the face, and it's just like it didn't look normal. Like our timeline. And then I'll say they're driving, and they pass out that area, and it felt they explain it where it's kind of felt eerie. And I guess they were thinking like, well, they were following that car, but then what happened to that car is like it just disappeared, and they didn't know where it was anymore. And they kind of stopped, and they kind of figured, okay, we'll wait a little bit and see if that car will catch up. It never did. And they got a really weird feeling like that's like fight or flight mode, like get out of that area. So they just took off. But I think they've experienced a time shift where there's somebody going in there, and that's a different timeline. That somehow they mesh in the timeline. I don't know. It's weird. But it felt very eerie for them. In any case, sorry, Jane. What were you saying?
No, I was just referring to, I know me and Patty is very decorative and pretty and all that, but maybe our part of playing the wallflower is a bit over now. So Patty can share story or stories about her, her own experiences and her own place. That's quite
Yeah,
good.
that'd be cool. Let me put up a banner.
Yeah.
I only have the stories that John helped me out with. One of them, although here a month or so ago, it was warmer weather, so maybe it was 2 months ago. I told John that I'd walked outside around here, and it was so eerie because I live in the country, but there is constantly a frog or a cricket or a breeze or a dog barking or something or a car going by that you can hear. And there was absolutely no sound out there. It was the eeriest thing I've ever been in. It was like being in a vacuum. It didn't feel right. It didn't, both the dog and I were just kind of like looking around. It was at nighttime, but it was so eerie. It was just that one night, and I still haven't forgotten it. But John spotted quite a few doorways around here on the place. And the first time he marked one of them, I put some logs out there to mark it to find out where it was, because I was going to go back and look. And I turned my back and I asked him what happened to the branches that I put down there to mark it with. He said the horses are pulling it apart. He didn't want me to use it. Because he said you always have to be careful about what's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot about it. He said you don't go someplace you're not invited. So I don't know if it was a portal, but it was a doorway. And I think the one with the quietness is when John was saying there was an awful lot of stuff going on up and down the valley here with portals opening up at that time. That's
Yep.
been within the last couple of months sometime. I've never experienced anything with that deafening of a quiet other than being up at the base of Mount Jefferson, and even at that point you could hear vehicles in the distance, and you could still hear a mosquito or something. There was still sound up there, even as far away as that was. So this was just really different. When you don't hear anything out there, something's up. That's my story. The rest of them are all James.
Jane, do you have anything to share? Like your stories? I'm pretty sure you got a lot, especially out there in Norway.
Yeah, we do have stuff here as well. I would also add in the beginning that we have actually had missing people lately, especially young adults or very young people. Not so many, but still, it's a bit alarming. And some of them are lost forever. It has happened recently during this year. And I'm a neat freak myself. Everything has a place and order. And guess what? I lost some important keys. And I know they have been in my pocket, and I have a special place for different sets of keys depending where I need to use them. And I still keep asking, can I get them back now, please? I really need that key. Oh, I can tell Livestream is having fun in the absence of Jung. Oh, that's okay. We like that. But regarding portals, I have never been into a portal that has transported me away in a physical shape or form, but I have been in portals in my astral body and or when traveling out there, and I've learned how to open up portals. I find it quite fascinating and I like it. And there are so many different portals you can access or make use of. And I also want to bring in the subject of dragons, because dragons has also been a part of this process of learning how to create portals for healing or for transformation or actually teaching. I'm not going to tell how it is done because it's not supposed to be shared or taught through a media like this. but it is certainly and absolutely possible.
Yep. There
Yep.
are multiple types of portals. Most of the common portals that we get are these that just drop down out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But then there are the portals that are double-ended. You have one end drop one place, one end drop the other, and it's like they switch whatever that area was. One of the most famous ones was a portal dropped in Siberia, and in a forest in Siberia, and then another one dropped into the Sahara Desert, and they switched sections. So for a very long time, there was a section of desert in the middle of Siberia, and then there was a grove of trees in the Sahara.
May I also add, there are actually fairy tales about stuff like this all over the world, including my own culture or Scandinavian culture and lore, and Russia. There are, Celtic lore about it. Everything you can find it wherever in the world.
But anyhow, a guy that I know has been researching these. He says that the only way that you can find the desert in Siberia anymore is if you are on the ground and you knew exactly where it was originally. The trees have taken over. They've moved back into that area. And the forest in Siberia, or the forest in Sahara, didn't survive. It was dead in less than a year's time. And there's no trace of it now. The desert has reclaimed it. But the spot in Siberia, it was still visible in the late 70s. But then shortly after that, it just disappeared. So yeah, portals have played a part in the fabric of the universe since the fabric of the universe was created. And they are, like I said, different types. The ones that are the most dangerous are the multidimensional ones, because they can drop you in another solar system. They can place you, divide you and your atoms, and drop half your atoms one place, half your atoms in another place. So they're not ones to be caught in. Luckily, those don't happen very often.
I've seen pictures that are starting to come out that look very real. It looks like, those vintage pictures. And there's one that came up recently a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And it's in Egypt. Appears to be the people dressed in like maybe in the 1800s, right? Because the photos are still black and white, or it kind of has that tint to it. And it has almost like, have you seen the movie Stargate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it has like a ring disc, right? But it's the size of like 2-3 stories high. And they're just like, they have ropes tying it and trying to drag it or move it somewhere. And there's photos of these, but it looked like it was untampered, It doesn't look Photoshopped, at least to my eyes.
You can find them in other cultures as well.
Yeah.
Those are actual gateways. Those aren't portals. Those are gateways.
Yeah, but some of those gates can take you to different dimensions, right? Almost like the Stargate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gates can actually take you back in time. Gates can throw you into the future. That's why when they talk about time travel, I roll my eyes, because these gates were what was used. I mean, the ancients, they basically jumped through time and space to get to here using those gates. Because it's like most of these entities are from galaxies and solar systems that are billions of light years from us. And for them to be able to get to here at this time frame, they would have to basically go through time and space, because I mean there's a big difference. They couldn't come here straight away. So yeah, and they're discovering these things. It's like I was talking about last week, the mirrors. There are mirrors that can transport you to another world. There are mirrors that can transport you from, say, from Yoon's house to Jane's house in 2 seconds.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. Those mirrors are still in existence. Not all of them have been destroyed. And so that's why if you get drawn towards a mirror in an antique store, I mean, if it really pulls at you, because most people that are sensitive, they're psychic, that are intuitive, they're gifted, they feel that vibration of that mirror. And if the mirror pulls at you, it's probably one of those mirrors.
Now, John, isn't it some mirrors are also like prisons for certain souls?
Those are.
Got to be careful with those vintage mirrors.
Those are ones that you feel uncomfortable around, and they are also of a darker tint, almost like a black mirror. And not all black mirrors are bad. I mean, some black mirrors are really wonderful to work with for scrying, but you have to be in control. And that's the thing with a lot of mirrors. People just blindly trust. You can't. You have to be in warrior mode, saying, "Okay, no, we're doing this," and that is how you have to basically take charge with any of the ancient mirrors. Like I said, there are some that are innocently sitting in museums, and the museums have no clue what they've got. Supposedly, I mean, there hasn't been any actual proof or advertisement, but supposedly a gentleman went through one of the mirrors that's at the Louvre, and when he came back, he went in as a heavy-set man. When he came back, he was toned and buff, dark tanned skin, and he had a beard. And they said he was only gone for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that you hear that a lot, especially in the stories and the Chinese stories. You know, you go up to heaven, or like a Taoist go out of body or something like that, and he's there for like a year, but it's been only like a few minutes in our lifetime, or vice versa. You know, it's all it's really interesting. But I also hear that some portals, like especially with human technologies, we hear some of these, on the internet, you don't know is real or not, a lot of the informations. But this one really resonates too, that we all know that our governments have technologies that are dabbling in all sorts of things, like portals, gates, and all that stuff. And there's stories coming out that mention they send soldiers through it, and when they come back, they're like brain dead, or they're not consciously there. It's just the body comes back, but their soul is missing.
Mm-hmm.
Like really weird things like that happens.
Well, I always caution people if you open a doorway or a portal or anything like that, portals you don't play with. They are not to play with because you can be trapped. And if you've astraled out of your body through a portal and that portal shuts, you don't know if it's going to open back up. It could open back up in 1,000 years. It could open back up in 20 minutes. So, and you don't know what type of atmosphere that you're going into. And if you're in your astral self, you're a little bit better off. But if you physically are caught in a portal, it's like the gentleman that got out of his car in the back in the 20s. He got out of his car, went and looked at a rock, and came back. And he shows up like, what, 60 years later, 40 years later, and just started rapidly aging. So they're not to play with. Look in, peek in, and get a look, but don't go into them unless you know it's going to be safe on the other side.
Yeah, your family might miss you. You might see you generations later.
What about those who just disappear because they are just placed on you? You have no, prediction about when it would happen, and you have certainly no protection against it.
Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Oh, tell us, please, indulge us.
If, say, for Scott, we'll go back to Scott. Scott had one drop on him, and everything looked different. Everything looked strange. And he had walked a little ways, but then some instinct told him to go back to where he was and stay there for a moment.
Mm.
And then it lifted and he could see where we were. So if a portal drops on you, don't move. Stay put. And the portals usually do not stick around for more than a few seconds. Up to, I think the longest I've ever heard it was 5 minutes. So just stay there. If you're driving and a portal drops on you, don't stop. Keep driving. Don't let your curiosity get you into trouble. Because you usually, if you are in a portal scenario, you could be on a different world. And that world could be, you could be breathing mercury. You could be breathing methane. You could be breathing cyanide. You never know. So this is why it's wise to just stay where you are. One of the stories from a gentleman who got caught by a portal, he said it's like he felt the change, and when the portal came down, it's like he saw everything change, and he froze. And he said it felt like there was this weird membrane around him, and he had the instinct that if he would have stepped forward, he'd have broke that membrane and he would have been in that world. And he said he could see the fumes swirling around him. It was like a hurricane of these fumes, and they were like a greenish purple color.
Suddenly's trying to join. They're trying to see if we can get her. Oh, hi, Suddenly.
Hello. So yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We are live and you are on right now.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Sally.
Hello, hi from Brisbane, Australia. I'm using my mobile phone. I don't think it's quite compatible to StreamYard because I can't type comments if I type it, like right now, it's blank. I can't see you all because I'm in the comment section, and then I'm afraid if I press anything, I'll disappear again. But
I
hello.
see.
But you have your mouth to use, you know. Da, 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 da. You can use your mouth. Comment
We
here.
see you.
Okay. Oh no, you can't. Can you hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you and we can see you as well.
Okay,
So,
all right. Okay, great. So we're talking about portals.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
But so if you are in a portal, don't move. Just stay put. It'll lift off of you. And I mean, like this guy said, he felt this membrane around him, and he knew that if he would have moved and that broke, he probably would have been dead. And he said when he came back, his skin was moist, and it was like a slimy moist.
Mhm.
And I had an experience at the coast. It was so quick, I couldn't even tell you if it was actually a portal dropping down on me or not. But my skin felt oily. And this was at sunset. There wasn't very many people on the beach. My friend was, God only knows where he was. He was doing his own little thing. And I was just watching the sunset, and the sun was just above the water, and then everything went milky white. And
Interesting.
then when it cleared, the sun was halfway down in the water.
I've experienced stuff like that.
So
Feeling
yeah,
engulfed by
yeah,
something I couldn't explain.
yeah. And I felt my skin was really oily, and it actually had a smell to it. It was a smell I couldn't give you a name to. It was something I've never smelt before. I mean, it wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't pleasant either. It was just like very odd.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like even your, like the weather and everything, right? It might have been humidity or like a different type of air quality. Because I remember when Scott, I was like, how'd you get lost? When he was stuck in that portal, I mean, it was just weird. He told us to go straight and make a right. And I'm like, okay, you would go that way too. And 20 minutes later, we're chit chatting. We're like, where is he? That was he looked like he was kind of shocked. He's like,
He was frazzled.
yeah,
He was frazzled. Eyes big, everything.
yeah. So it goes to show, like, especially in places like in the forests and the woods and mountains,
Mhm.
you got to be more alert about these things. You hear about those trees where like they look like doors. I think we talked about this a couple shows back. Where it looks like there's two doors, and if you enter, you could potentially go into some, through a portal. So those are things people should be kind of cautious about. Seeing like two trees that kind of shaped like they're next to each other, so it appears like almost like a door, like a gate, right? And you cross it, you might put yourself in a situation you don't want to be.
Yeah, doorways are very unique, and in some cases, the original door was probably made of stone, but it's not the stone that's the actual doorway. It is something that is placed in the ground. The stonework gives a form for the door to attach to. Doorways, gates, windows, they have to have something to connect to, because they're just energy. They're an energy field. Wormholes are thought to be an energy force that once it connects to a certain terminus, you can go through them. And that is why the in some of the most ancient places, you'll find these rectangular or square, precise shaped rocks and cuttings and openings. They are so precise that there's just no way anyone could have made them with what equipment they had back then. But the thing is that they may not be as perfect as people think, because it's probably the gate, the energy of the gate, that is making it that way. So it's making our brain think it's perfect.
Interesting.
But yeah, there up on Sisters, there is a set of trees. It's called the corridor because they are perfectly lined up, and there are 8 of them. So there are 4 sets. They are evenly spaced, and they are spaced differently than any of the other planted trees that were in that area. And these trees are older, and no one knows why they weren't cut down when that area was harvested. They don't know why those trees were left. And our thought process is those trees weren't left. They were originally cut down, but when they went through to plant it, the energies grabbed hold of the planter and made them plant right on top of the same area or close to that area, so that the gate could attach to it and reopen.
Interesting.
So, and there's another one on Mount Hood that's similar.
Suddenly, do you have anything like that over there in Brisbane or Australia, like portals and gates? I mean, I'm sure there's, you know of any stories or your experiences?
Definitely. Like Uluru, it's known as a sacred site among the indigenous indigenous people. But I've heard also that there's like pyramids, which known to be portals, spread everywhere around in Australia, and only certain groups of people know their actual locations. There's at least 2 in Queensland, in the state of Queensland, that I know of. I have not actually visited those pyramids, and they're very in size. But I know certain groups go there and do activations. Yeah, so that's where we are at the moment.
That's cool. Yeah, I know. Over here in California, there's been talk about a hidden pyramid that's in Los Angeles. Like in on the side, Los Angeles is like a basin, right? But if you go more inland, you go through the mountains area, right? And somewhere in there's like a hidden pyramid. I know we have one down in San Diego, between like near Tijuana, between the borders. And it's funny because there's, from far away it looks like a pyramid, but they draw a line. So they built the gates, the fences, to keep, to divide Mexico and America, right? The borderline. And it runs just right over the side of the pyramid. But that pyramid's very sacred to the indigenous native there. They still do conduct ceremonies on their side, though. But yeah, it's interesting. I think the pyramids are everywhere. Like the one that I went to visit John, and we drove, and it looks like a mound, but it looks very artificial. It's like a mini pyramid, right, John?
Oh yeah, we got a few of them up.
Yeah, and it's all over the place, but people just kind of brush them off. But I figure pyramids are they associated with portals and gates too, or is just like a healing device type of thing?
Well, I've heard so many different stories about them that
Mhm.
they're generators, they're healing devices, they're portals, or anchor points for portals, anchor points for UFOs. They are communication devices to certain planets. The stories are so many. So that's one of the places I'd like to go, is to the pyramids and see what I feel and see what the energies are really like.
Yeah.
Then I can probably say something more.
I would love to travel to, Serbia, where they found this giant one.
Oh, Serbia. Is it they call it the Sun Pyramid and the Moon Pyramid, right? There's two next to each other.
There are more. They also have a dragon's.
You're right. Yeah, there's another one. There is a dragon pyramid, and
I
what they
think
found is
I think they said there's over 40.
40. Wow. Okay. So when I study it, it was the big ones. Like
That's the
the one that
sun
really
one.
stood out. Yeah.
The first one they excavated. But also there are others all around the world, like Aztec Maya cultures. We know about them, and even in certain lands of Himalaya, like Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan, etc.,
Yeah.
etc.
There's also pyramids in China that you don't hear about. In the west, southwest of China, there's photos of them during World War II. Or
Is
maybe
there
even
one
one.
submerged in the water or water around also?
No, it's in the desert of China, and these areas you cannot go. The government doesn't allow you to go to these areas, certain spots. But there are multiple pyramids. And these photos came from an American pilot during one of those wars where he was flying through and excavating, and he was taking photos, and he saw there was multiple sets of pyramids, several that are giant, maybe even bigger than the ones that you see in the Giza pyramids, but they're not accessible right now. And there's some that are, and the government has planted trees to make it look like it's more natural, even though it's pretty obviously it doesn't. Those, they say that that's where the first emperor was buried, and they built a mound the size of a pyramid. But there are other ones in the photo that it looked like it's stonework from those photos. Yeah, so it's really interesting.
God, I would
Yeah.
love to see those. Is there any way we can check them out? Is there any
Yeah.
link or?
Let me pull it up right now. Give me a second.
Wonderful.
You can continue chit chat for a bit. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll show it on.
John, the floor is yours again.
There was some new information that popped up, and it's like one of my colleagues is just all abeam because he said it was going to happen. They found the remains of another supercontinent. And he said that they were going to find it, and they were going to find it where he said. And sure enough, exactly where he said it was. And he also said that they're going to find a lost continent under the islands of Sweden and Norway and all of that. and they now say that they think that they have found traces of another supercontinent up in that area. So
Can you see the screen?
why China keeps its pyramids a secret?
Yeah, this is. I'm just pulling. I'm just quick Google search. Yeah, this is a little bit better. And so this is the terracotta where they found. So this is near it, and I believe this is probably the same one we're looking at, which is this. But what's interesting is that from far away, you'll see, as we keep scrolling these images, you'll see more. They're all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of them are also burial mounds, and they discovered when they excavated that these
Right.
are also pyramids.
Right. So
They
it's
found one in the UK as well, the Silbury Hill.
yeah. But there's certain places in China that you're just not allowed to go.
Yeah.
There are some people that they tried, and they foreigners they would take a train and they would see these pyramids and like they're taking pictures, and then the government, like the police would confiscate. So some of them were able to actually successfully make it through with those photos, and they put it up. And it's not in this one, but I saw a video about it. Yeah, it's all over the place. In Korea too, I believe North Korea has some pyramids up there too. And I'm pretty sure as you go further up in the Manchuria, into Siberia, all those areas probably has many more. Oh, then Russian pyramids too. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're these are almost like ancient lost, like those, like the Indians talking about the Yuga cycles. Probably at one point, civilizations were built on pyramids. Instead of highest rise towers, we have pyramids instead.
Yep.
So very interesting. So let me see if I can stop sharing.
You were talking about the terracotta soldiers.
Yeah.
There was a Chinese archaeologist, and he had set up a video camera to record the area, because certain things were happening that were a little confusing, and he thought someone was playing a trick on him, because some of the soldiers weren't in their original positions. And so he put a hidden camera, infrared hidden camera, night vision camera, and the statues moved. Like one was looking straight ahead, and then all of a sudden its head turns just slightly, and then there's another one that changed its facial expression. And
so what do you think, that there's actually souls in there? Maybe, maybe like a dark magic type of thing where they moved.
What was thought was that they were originally designed as golems.
Oh, I see.
So, if that emperor ever came back to life, because supposedly he was immortal. or thought of himself as immortal. So he was going to need an army to take back his dynasty. And so it was thought that these golems were made to be his army.
Okay.
But yeah, his pictures were up for a week, and they were only up on one of the archaeology pages, and then they were gone, and he was taken off to dig.
Wow. And I think so suddenly lost connection, and she had to go anyway. So she was able to join us for a bit. I think Patty had to go too. She has other things.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll. But let me share one more thing because we're in the topic of that, and I think we're a little bit over. But then we can end it. But let me see if I can find it. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. So even in Southeast Asia too. This is Myanmar, right? Burma. Even theirs have very intricate, stylized pyramids. I mean, look at that.
Yep.
And then you go to Cambodia. Cambodia have steps pyramids.
Very detailed ones.
Yeah. Which is interesting because you would think Cambodia has a lot of carrier influence from Indian, architectures and cultures. They were at one point Hinduism, instead of Buddhist came later. But people always associate, the temples are associated for Buddhists, but those were actually built for Hindu gods and goddesses, right? But the interesting here is you see pyramids step, but in India, their architecture is much more different. Less of a pyramid, but it's a very unique. So I thought that was interesting. Here's one in Thailand.
Yep.
So, we definitely have an amnesia when it comes to pyramids and a lost history of all of this. There's also underwater pyramids we mentioned too in Yonaguni, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
It's off of one of the islands in the south between Taiwan or
And
Okinawa and Japan.
Mhm.
And it appears to be almost like a ziggurat type of pyramid.
Hmm. Yeah, I've seen it. It's really breathtaking. All the
Yeah.
details.
And where is this one? I know there's a lot in Malaysia and Indonesia too. But this is Javanese. So where's Java? Java, is that in Malaysia or Indonesia? It's one of those two. I have to look it up again. But yeah, definitely a lot of and this is the one I was talking about, the Korean one.
Hmm. A lot
Pyramids.
of those pyramids are also covered by vegetation. So most people and scientists indeed, they claim
Pyramids.
it's a part of nature or natural formation, but I don't always think so.
Yeah.
And there are also theories about those who created or Earth, kind of, that was shaping Earth.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So-
if you have Google Map, Google Earth, there's a lot of people are starting to find pyramids in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Like huge giant mountains. And they're pyramids. And actually they disclosed some of that information in some of the movies. I forgot what movie it was, but I think it was Mortal Kombat.
Hmm.
One of the Mortal Kombats, I think, where they went down to Antarctica and there's pyramids, and they say that aliens came down and you have to, I don't know, they have to fight or something like that. And if it's not Mortal Kombat, it's something else, but I forget. It's one of those, thriller action type of movies. But yeah, it's quite interesting. But I know we're up in the hours. Maybe we could talk more about pyramids
Next time.
and some of the technologies. We can go in more details because the Law 1 talks about the construction of the pyramids and what is the perfect angle, the ideal angle for the human body for the purpose of healing and the materials that is used. to construct the pyramid. So it's quite in depth. But in any case, John, Jane, do you have any last words? I'm gonna bust out the banner for us. Let's see.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's always a delight. And next time, John, we really should step up the banter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the banner here for Radiate Up. I think in the future we've been having talks about moving Up in the Night show separately, so having more dedicated. So look out for that. We'll definitely let everyone know where we're going to take the show. We wanted to take it to more viewers. We're starting on YouTube, but we want to take it to other social medias that are starting to, spawn right now in the midst of a lot of information war type of thing. So look out for us. We're going to change it a little bit more, and let us know. If you like the program, send us a message or hit the like button on YouTube, subscribe, and we'll definitely keep you updated. If you have any topics you want us to go dive deep into, do research, we can do that too. John has a wealth of knowledge, especially the dragons, and both John and Jane have very beautiful third eyes. They see things. So so do reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And I see a comment. Hi, Diane. How are you? Anything else? John, your shows or anything you want to let the viewers know? Or Jane?
Well, want everyone to stay tuned. Patty and I are doing a collaboration, and we're going to have a special offer for people. I don't have all the basic details, but it's going to be a mind, body, soul experience. I will be doing a 30-minute reading. You'll also get 5 stones, and you will also get a bag of incense, custom-made incense, and you'll also get a dragon prayer. And then Patty was going to do a flow and a couple of blessings and trace of calligraphy. And this is going to be a package deal. And so stay tuned for more information on that. I am also probably in January, I am going to be starting up the crystal healing classes. So if you are interested in learning about crystal healing and learning about stones, I will probably be teaching that. I'm thinking somewhere around the second week in January. So if you need any more information, you can either get a hold of me here or on Facebook.
Awesome. Cool, John. Thank you for that. Jane, do you want to chime in and share what you're doing and how people can reach you as well? I know the other show we do with the ladies, and
thank you. Yeah, I do all kinds of healing modalities and soul communication, third eye readings, or tarot readings for those who love that, but I don't necessarily need tarot cards or anything. I also do calligraphy tracing, and I have a vast amount of skills.
Jane can access the Akashic record and rewrite your whole future. She can actually help tune you into your oversoul, your a soul soul retrieval. Yeah, that's amazing. And also I was thinking, what it's called in Chinese, called Yuan Shen, right? Your original soul, right? She's able to tune into that too. Many other things, but she helped me out with that too. So she's amazing. and also my mother too. So trying to get her a testimonial. I got to translate it from Vietnamese first though.
Thank
By
you
the
so
way,
much.
she said that it was a really amazing because now she's like no pain and everything. So
Oh, that's great. I love
Yeah.
to get feedback like that.
Yeah.
But I really felt a strong connection, and I have strong premonitions. And yeah, me and John kind of matched there. And yeah, so it's a fun ride, really, being alive during these
Yeah.
times and being able to access a lot of things that the normal John and Jane Doe doesn't really wants to know, but I hope more and more people will open up. And thank you for this opportunity, Jon, really.
Yeah, it's definitely the more that you can reach out and help people, connect, the more they can
yeah.
see your work and they have the opportunity to like heal and so many things, bring awareness. So that we are definitely on a mission to serve in whatever capacity we can. So, do reach out. Everyone's available, so. And again, apologize. We started late always, but we try to strive. So you might catch us not on live or in the middle of it, but we do appreciate and we try to stick with it, every Thursday at 9:30.
Except for next week, though. It's Thanksgiving.
Oh
right?
yeah. Sorry. Next week we're spending time with our families and our holidays and whatever. It's like everyone has their so we probably won't be live next Thursday, but we'll be the following week. We'll be on again. So we thank everyone for tuning in, and if you're tuning in after this live show and the recording, then we thank you and hope you subscribe to us, like us.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, that would help us out a lot. Oh, and the bottom banner. I know I'm dragging a little bit, but if you really, really, really want to support us, we would totally appreciate it, and we will give you, like inside perks and things like that. But do take a look at the Buy Me a Coffee, Radiate Up. Any little things help us out, especially all these little services and things. The cost adds up, So, and yeah, we'll continue to make the content better. We thank you, and I'll see you next time. And happy Thanksgiving for folks in the U.S. Bye-bye.